$1,650. That's what leaves your account on the first of every month for a studio apartment with one window and a radiator that clangs. Your name is the only name on the lease. No cosigner, because there's no one in your family who's ever cosigned anything. You check the account balance after rent clears, $340. You're 24. Here's the part nobody in your family can tell you. By the time you're done reading this, most first-generation homeowners have lost thousands of dollars just to not knowing what a normal repair costs. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what your house looks like and what it actually costs you at every single level of wealth between where you're standing right now and $10 million, like NBC is. 11 levels. One ladder. There's a level in here where you'll own a house that actively bleeds you dry every single year, and a level, much later, where the house stops being about you at all. Let's start at the bottom, because that's exactly where you are right now. Level 0. You don't own anything. You rent a studio for $1,650 a month in a building where the landlord is a company, not a person. Your net worth, if you actually did the math, $340 in checking, $2,100 in credit card debt from the move-in costs nobody warned you about, comes out to negative $1,760. Here's Level 0's rule. When you're the first in your family to rent alone, every housing decision is a decision you're making with zero inherited information. Your friend from the wealthy suburb calls his dad when the water heater in his rental smells like rotten eggs. You Google it. Your friend from the wealthy suburb calls his dad about what a normal security deposit dispute looks like. You read forum posts from strangers at 1 a.m. The win here: you're standing on your own. Nobody co-signed this lease. Nobody had to. That's real, and it matters. The undercut. You priced the studio at $1,650 because it was the cheapest one-bedroom adjacent unit within 30 minutes of your job, and you didn't know until the first winter bill that the building's ancient heating system would cost you $210 a month just to keep the radiator clanging. Nobody told you to ask about that before you signed. There was no one to ask. This is the real starting line for a first-generation homeowner, not zero. Negative $1,760 alone, learning the vocabulary of housing from scratch. Level 1. 18 months later, your net worth crosses zero for the first time in your adult life. Not because anything dramatic happened. You paid off the $2,100 in credit card debt in careful, boring $180 monthly chunks, and you built a small cushion, $2,400 in savings, which happens to be exactly the security deposit on a better one-bedroom across town. Level 1's rule. The first time your credit score qualifies you for something on your own, you feel it in your chest before you feel it in your bank account. A property manager runs your credit, alone, without a cosigner, and approves you. Nobody's name is attached to yours. Nobody vouched for you. Your own number was enough. The win. You upgrade. New building, an actual bedroom door, a dishwasher. The undercut. The rent is $1,890 now, $240 more than before, and you signed a 13-month lease because it was $40 cheaper a month than the standard 12, and nobody explained that a 13-month lease means your renewal date drifts into a worse season for apartment hunting every single year. You'll learn that the hard way 3 years from now. For today, though, you have a set of keys nobody co-signed for. That part is real, and it's yours. Level 2. Age 29. You buy a house, a real one. A $238,000 starter home, 3 bedrooms, a yard the size of a parking space. You've saved $14,000 for a low down payment loan, plus $6,000 for closing costs you didn't know existed until a loan officer read them off a sheet you'd never seen before. Here's the mirror moment. The seller's agent hands you a single house key across a folding table at closing. It's small, it weighs almost nothing in your hand, and it is the heaviest object you've held in your entire life, because you are the first person in your family, in maybe your family's entire history in this country, to hold a key to a house that has your name on the deed. Level 2's rule. A mortgage payment and a housing payment are 2 different numbers, and nobody teaches you the gap. Your mortgage, principal, interest, comes out to $1,340 a month. Your actual housing payment, once you add property tax and homeowner's insurance and the mortgage insurance you owe, because your down payment was under 20%, is $1,890. Almost identical to the rent you were paying. Except now a $9,400 furnace failure is legally, entirely yours. The win, you own something. The undercut, you own the furnace, the roof, the water line, and every surprise underneath all three, and there is no landlord's number to call anymore. There is only your own number. Level 3. Year 2 of ownership. You're doing the responsible thing. You've got $1,890 a month budgeted, a small emergency fund building slowly behind it, and you feel like you finally figured out the game. Then the furnace dies in January. $9,400, because the model is discontinued and the replacement has to be custom fitted. You didn't have $9,400. You put $6,000 of it on a card at 22% interest and drained the rest of your emergency fund for the other $3,400. 11 months later, the roof, which the inspector called serviceable, 3 to 5 years of life left, starts leaking over the guest room. $7,200. You didn't have that either. Level 3's rule. A house costs more than the mortgage every single year, and the years it costs the most are never announced in advance. Add it up. $9,400 plus $7,200 is $16,600 in unplanned repairs in under 2 years, on top of a mortgage payment that already felt tight. Your take-home pay didn't go up. Your patience didn't run out. But your cushion did, twice. The win from level 2, the house, the deed, the name on the paperwork, is still real. The undercut is that nobody in your family had a house to teach you this rule, so you learned it in real dollars, twice, in 18 months. If you're the first in your family to own anything, drop a comment. I want to know what year you got your keys. Because here's what actually gets you through level 3. Not luck, a boring habit. You start a separate house fund, $150 a month, automatic, untouchable, the week after the furnace bill clears. It's not enough to prevent the next surprise. It's enough that the next surprise doesn't put you back on a credit card. By the end of year 3, the fund holds $5,400, not a fortune. Just the difference between panic and an inconvenience. Level 4, year 6. Interest rates drop, and you refinance the $224,000 remaining balance down from 6.8% to 5.1%, cutting your monthly payment by $187. You didn't get a raise, you just paid attention. Here's the number nobody hands you a chart for. Your house, bought at $238,000, is now worth roughly $301,000 based on 3 comparable sales on your street. Subtract what you still owe, $211,000. And you're sitting on $90,000 of equity you never had to save a single dollar to build. Half of that is appreciation you did nothing for. Half of it is 6 years of mortgage payments quietly converting rent-like spending into ownership. Level 4's rule. Your first home teaches you what a house costs. It takes years before it starts teaching you what a house is worth. The win, $90,000 sitting in your walls. The undercut. None of that money is spendable unless you sell, borrow against it, or wait. Equity is real, and it is also, for now, completely frozen. Quick thing before we keep going. If this is landing, subscribe. It's the easiest way to make sure the next one reaches you. Okay, back to it. Level 5, year 9. You sell the starter home for $319,000. After paying off the $198,000 remaining mortgage and $19,000 in agent commission and closing costs, you walk away with $102,000 in cash. The first 5-figure plus check you've ever held that wasn't a paycheck. You roll almost all of it into a $415,000 move-up home. 4 bedrooms, a real driveway, a neighborhood with a name people recognize. Putting $95,000 down this time. Your new mortgage payment is $2,240 higher than before. But this time you know exactly what you're walking into. You've already budgeted a separate $200 a month house fund from day 1, because Level 3 taught you that lesson at full price. Level 5's rule. The first house teaches you to survive owning. The second house teaches you to own on purpose. The win? You moved up without wiping out your savings. The undercut? Your monthly payment just jumped $350, and the honeymoon period where everything in the house is new will not last as long as it feels like it should. Level 6. Year 12. You buy your first rental property, A small $189,000 duplex 2 towns over, $38,000 down. Finance the rest. The rent from both units covers the mortgage, the insurance, and the property management fee, with $310 left over every month after everything. Level 6's rule. The moment you become a landlord, the phrase passive income stops meaning what you thought it meant. The win, $310 a month in genuine cash flow, plus the tenants are, in effect, paying down your mortgage for you. The undercut. At 1:40 a.m. on a Tuesday, a tenant's pipe bursts, and there is no landlord above you to call. You are the landlord now. You pay $1,100 for the emergency plumber, and you don't sleep much that night. This is the level where the house stops being just shelter and starts being a small business, with all the boring, unglamorous obligations that come with running one. Level 7, Year 16. You buy a second rental, $310,000 this time. A small single-family home in a growing suburb, $65,000 down. Between your primary residence, now worth roughly $520,000, and your 2 rentals, now worth a combined $560,000 with $340,000 left owed across all 3 properties, your real estate net worth crosses $700,000 for the first time. Level 7's rule. Once you own more than one property, spreadsheets stop being optional. You track insurance renewal dates, property tax reassessments, and vacancy risk across 3 separate addresses now. And the mental load of that tracking is its own quiet cost nobody puts a dollar figure on. The win, $700,000 in real estate, built one boring decision at a time, starting from a $340 checking account balance 18 years ago. The undercut, on paper you're worth more than your entire extended family combined, and you still can't call anyone in it to ask if you're doing this right. Level 8, Year 22. You build a house for the first time instead of buying one someone else designed, a $1.2 million build on land you bought 2 years earlier for $210,000, a second, separate property from the home you still live in from Level 5. You didn't do it to impress anyone. You did it because after 2 decades of learning other people's floor plans, you finally know exactly what you want a house to do for your life. Level 8's rule. The biggest house you'll ever own is rarely the one that changes how you feel about money. The win, you designed the exact layout, the exact light, the exact quiet. The undercut, a custom build, runs 9 months over schedule and $84,000 over the original budget. Because that is simply what building a house involves, at any price point. And nobody warns you that custom also means custom overruns. Level 9. You buy a $650,000 cabin 2 hours from your primary house, paid for in cash from rental income accumulated over the prior 6 years, no new mortgage at all. Level 9's rule. The first purchase you make with cash instead of a loan feels different in your body than every purchase before it. The win, no payment, no lender, nothing owed on this one. The undercut, a second property means a second set of insurance bills, a second roof that will eventually fail, and a second location for the 2 a.m. call, even if it rings less often now that you can afford to hire it out. Level 10. Your primary residence, the $415,000 move-up home from Level 5, is paid off in full. 13 years early, because every raise, every bonus, every bit of extra rental income above your target got funneled toward the principal instead of a bigger lifestyle. Level 10's rule. The day the mortgage disappears, your monthly expenses drop by more than most people's entire rent payment, and almost nothing else about your life changes on the surface. The win? No housing payment, full stop, for the first time since you were 24 years old. The undercut? You still owe property tax, insurance, and maintenance forever. Paid off removes the loan, not the house's ongoing cost of existing. Level 11. Your combined real estate holdings. The paid-off primary from Level 5, now worth roughly $580,000. The custom build from Level 8, now worth $1.6 million. The 2 rentals now worth a combined $1.1 million. The $650,000 cabin, and a family compound-style property you bought later at $6.1 million on 11 acres. Put your total real estate net worth past $10 million. Level 11's rule. At this tier, the house stops being about proving anything, because there is no one left to prove it to. The conversation shifts entirely to what happens to it after you. You've set up a trust. You've had the who gets what and how and when conversation with people you love, which is a genuinely uncomfortable conversation that no one in your family ever had to have before, because no one in your family ever had anything at this scale to pass down. The win, a $1,650 a month studio apartment turned into a $10 million real estate portfolio in one lifetime, starting from negative $1,760. The undercut, if you can call it that, the goal was never the number. It was making sure the next person in your family doesn't start at negative $1,760 the way you did. $1,650. That's still the number that started this. Somewhere, a version of you is still standing in a studio apartment with a clanging radiator, checking a balance of $340, wondering if any of this is actually possible for someone whose family has never done it. It is. Not quickly, and not without the furnace bill, and not without the 2 a.m. phone call. But level by level, boring decision by boring decision, it's exactly how the ladder gets climbed. By someone with no one to call, figuring it out anyway. If you want the first-gen homebuyer checklist, the link's in the description. It's free. It's the exact list of questions I wish someone had handed me before that first closing table. Next, we go inside the exact number that decides which of these levels you can actually afford. And it's not your income. And before you go, if this helped, like it and subscribe so the next one finds you.